Hi there, Joe from Pictoria. Thanks for checking in. Today I'm going to give you 10 tips for improving your resume. Keep in mind that I have been in the workforce for over 40 years. I've been working on my resume since maybe most of you have been born. So I want to share with you some of the things that I've learned, some of the things that are going to help you. Okay, and I've written them down. Forgive me for looking down here. I want to get this right. Number one. Your resume should be only one page. I know, you've got a lot of fantastic stuff you want to pack in there and you're worried that if you leave something out, you're not going to get the job. Believe me, that kind of mindset is the wrong mindset. You don't want to have a resume that's more than one page. In some cases, if you've been around for a while, 2 pages is okay, but for the most part, 1 page. And hang in there with me, I'll tell you why, because you want to do kind of a less is more approach to your resume. That's what I've learned works better than anything else. All right. Number 2, even though it's 1 page, I don't want you to start panicking and make it a tiny font and cram everything in there. Again, you don't have to give everything, every single thing inside your resume. Just keep it clean. Let that resume breathe. When someone sees your resume, they are grateful that it's only 1 page. Because remember, these people who are reviewing your resume, maybe the first round as a recruiter or something, they're getting hundreds, maybe 500 resumes over the course of their job, over the course of their week, over the course of their months, and they're just overwhelmed and they don't want a 2-pager because they have to scroll or they have to flip through the page. 1 page, that's a blessing. Blessing number 2 is when they look at the resume, they see that it's clean and that there's some white space around there and the font is big enough for them to read and it looks like a wonderful, inviting document. That's the goal you want to go for here. All right, number 3, you want to have a short paragraph at the top of your resume that's kind of an intro. So you would want to start with your name and your address and your contact information. Then under that, 3, 4, no more than 5 sentences that synopsizes who you are and why you're applying for that job. For my resume, for instance, I happen to have Salesforce certifications, so I put them right there. First thing that people see, 3 times Salesforce certified. Whatever it is, that's the most prominent thing that you want to show or talk about for the particular job that you're going after. You want to put that up front in sort of paragraph form. And you want to sort of give the person that very brief intro paragraph about who you are, why you're applying for the job, and why they should continue to read your resume. That's the most important thing. And that's the function that that first paragraph does. It's what they see first. It draws them in. So it shouldn't be crowded or clunky. It should be, I'm 3 times Salesforce certified. I have a history in doing these kinds of things. I have an education in this. And I'm interested in growing my career and taking a career trajectory that would bring me into the following place. And that's why I'm applying for this job. Remember that you're going to also, if you're working with me, helping you, Supplier cover letter. And the cover letter is going to give you another opportunity in written form and in language that's not sort of typical resume. This is where you can write in the cover letter. So you've got that paragraph on the resume, but you can also have an accompanying cover letter that explains in language why you're going after the job and your background and why you're a good fit. The resume really is sort of, if you think about it, the movie trailer, right? There's a new movie coming out. The trailer is just this short piece that makes you want to know more about the movie, that makes you want to go and see the movie. So if we think of your resume in terms of, here's a brief sort of teaser about who I am as a person and my background. This next tip is what really the function of your resume should be serving, okay? The resume isn't the thing that gets you the job. I'm going to say that again. The resume is not the thing that gets you the job. The resume, and this is how you need to think, people, the resume is the thing that gets you the job interview. And the interview and the second interview and the third interview combined with your resume, your cover letter, and all that talking, that's what gets you the job. The resume alone just gets you into the place where people want to talk to you. So let's say there's 100 candidates and they send in 100 resumes. Some of them are 2, 3, 4 pages long. Well, those get whittled out right away. No one's going to read that. Sorry, but no one is going to read it because they're in a hurry to find the correct person who can solve their problem. They need someone. So the people doing the screening first for the resumes are going to weed out the long ones. That's just a fact of the matter. So if you have a clean one-page resume, what the function of that resume is to get the person reading it to say, yes, there's enough in this piece of paper here that makes us say, interesting, we would like to learn more about this person. Let's interview them. That's really the function of your resume, and that's all your resume has to do, is get enough interest on the part of the person that's reading it to say, we want to know more about this person. Let's get them in here. So you're going to have then sort of format-wise your paragraph. I would then start with your experience, put the date, put the company, put what you did, and just 2 or 3 sentences. Now, your current job should be the longest of these, right? And you can list things out, use bullet points. But again, you don't have to say everything. You just want to give sort of an understanding of what your current role is, what you're doing, and how long you've been there, and that's your experience. Because when you're looking through your resume with someone in an interview, they'll say, tell me more about your present role. And that's the opportunity to tell them more about what you're doing currently. All you've done on your resume is list the time you've been there, your current company, and kind of what you're doing there that applies to the job you're going for. You want the person who sees that to be interested enough to ask you questions about your current position. Don't worry that you're leaving stuff off. Don't worry that they're going to look at it and say, I don't have the whole story here about what this person's doing currently. It's impossible to do that without overwhelming the person, and that's not what they want. The resume is just sort of something to get the conversation started. And yes, it has to be built in a way that generates interest. So that's all you want to do. And then you follow along with the rest of your experience behind that, going in descending order from your present occupation, your present job, down to the ones that you've had in the past. And as you go down that list, I wouldn't go back further than 10 years. You don't have to. And you don't have to put a lot of bullet points in the ones that follow your current position. List the company, list the time, list what your role was. Because remember, you want to keep this resume to one page. And there are other sections in your resume that you need to go to, such as your education. Right? So add that after your experience. Add what education you got, where you went to school, the time you went. Maybe you went to undergraduate school. Where'd you go? What kind of degree did you get? Maybe a few topics that you studied there that were the focus of your education, if they apply to the job that you're going to. You don't have to. If you put the name of the college or university you went to and the timeline and what you majored in, that's enough. Because again, they'll see, oh, you went to Northeastern University. I did too. How was that experience? When did you go? What did you study? What campus were you on? These are all things that you can talk about in the interview. You don't need to put that on the resume. Maybe you went to graduate school. And then you could just put the graduate school, the time you went, and your major. Oh, I see you went to Bentley College. That's wonderful. I did too. How was your experience there? I understand they're doing a lot of construction on the campus now. These are all things that would lead to a conversation in an interview. But on the resume, all you need to do is just put that section in there and note it. Again, the most important things on your resume are up at the top. Your contact information, that first succinct paragraph, okay, that's the hardest one to get right, but keep working on it and keep refining it so that it is a paragraph that totally describes who you are and where you want to end up in your career and why you're applying for this particular job in conjunction with your cover letter. All right, so then after that is your experience, then your education, and then other things. Maybe you're a volunteer, maybe you are part of some kind of community group that you want to list there, but that would be at the end. So you want to primarily use your resume to make a list of the things. The main categories are contact information, your paragraph that sums everything up, sort of the elevator pitch, if you will, and then your experience, and then your education, and that's it. Remember what your resume is and is not. It's not the novel that someone's going to read and swoon and say, we must have this person. That doesn't happen. What your resume is more like a one-page sort of talking point. It's points of interest that you want to trigger with the person who's going to be reviewing your resume. Remember, all they know about you in some cases initially is your resume. You want to generate some interest. You want to generate some intrigue. You want it to be clean. And a clean, well-written, uncrowded, well-presented resume says a lot about the person you are and how you're going to bring those same skills to that job and to that community and to that company. That's what's coming through in your resume. The last thing I want to share with you, actually there's a couple things. It's okay to leave things out. I think I've made that point clear. You can leave things off. You know, if you went abroad for a semester at school, you could add that on the resume, but you don't have to go into details about it. That might be something that you could discuss in the interview. And, you know, that might be something that's a conversation that helps tip the scales and helps get you the job. But it's okay not to put every single thing in the resume. I've seen resumes that are 4 and 5 pages long, listing every code project that someone ever did, every project that they had at school, every project that they were involved in at work. Believe me, people screening resumes, they're not going to read that, and they honestly don't care. They want to find the right person. And reading a resume is painful for them. They'd rather talk to you in person. They'd rather talk to you in person. And that's the idea. Get your resume to do that for you. It gets you the interview. It doesn't get you the job. It's one of the things that helps get you the job. But the interview, the next interview, and the final interview, that's where you get the job. The resume simply gets you the interview. And that's what you need to be focused on. Don't worry if you're writing your resume and thinking, oh, they're not going to like me. Oh, it's crap. Well, if you're packing it in and trying to convince someone to hire you with your resume alone, then it probably is crap. And you don't want to travel down that path. You want your resume to be clean, straightforward, inviting, and to generate interest in you. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about here is very, very important. You're going to spend a lot of time working on your resume, and you won't be able to see it after a while. So you want to pick one person who you trust to help you proofread it. You want to have a conversation with that person saying, look, I just need you to proofread this for punctuation and grammar, right? Because having someone proofread it for a content, that's a different story, and you need to be careful there, because if you show it to someone and the wrong person, they'll say, oh, it's all wrong, you need to start over. And you won't have the heart for that, believe me. So you want to proofread it. You don't want any typos. You don't want any grammatical errors. You want the font to be all the same size and the same type. By the way, don't try to get tricky with visuals on your resume. Use a common font like Times Roman or Arial or something like that. Don't try to be tricky. Don't use different fonts, different font sizes. Don't put pictures, don't put colors on your resume. That's a sure way to get you ejected from the pile early on. So do the proofreading. Again, the whole point of the resume here is to get the interview. And I know you can do it. So what I'm going to try to do down below is leave a very generic template of the resume that I've used. It won't be my resume, but you'll get the sense of how I lay out my resume. And my resume works perfectly fine for me. It does exactly the things that I've explained in this video, and it does exactly the things that you want it to do, which is a one-page resume that's clean, that's got no typos, that's not crowded, that's inviting, and it generates interest. And that has worked for me. And when you go in, people have your resume, you're meeting with 3 or 4 different people, they'll look at it. They'll look at the first top half maybe. Maybe they'll look at the bottom. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And it's just going to be a way for them to open a conversation with you. In the back of your mind, yes, you are going to have to prepare for that person who's going to be, ultra critical about your resume and maybe look at every finite point. But, that's part of the coaching and the prep that you do for your interviewing. Just be prepared for everything. Some people want to put you off guard, but that's a whole other video. This one is where I save you the trouble of not getting the job because your resume sucked. And I don't want your resume to suck. You're better than that, and you can do this. Open your mind. One page. That's all you need. All right. Time for me to thank the people who watch this channel, thank the people who subscribe, thank the people who click the like button. That helps me with the algorithm and help me bring more videos to you. Thank you so much. Take care of one another. Take care of yourself. Be peaceful. Smile. Be open-hearted. Help people where you can. And keep an eye out for my next video. I'm Joe from Vox Pictoria. Bye.